successful relationship is really hard work. It really is hard work, relationships, and sometimes your sex life falls by the wayside. Are you hearing me, sisters? But when intimacy drops out of the picture altogether, it can become a really big problem. So we've got relationship therapist Ashley Howe with us today with some really great advice. So thank you for coming in today. We're going to be clear about this. To define a sexless relationship means what? What is that? What's the definition?
Well, the way we're defining it these days is having sex with your partner less than 10 times a year. Having said that, the point that I want to make there is if you're having sex less than 10 times a year and you think that's fine and your partner thinks that's fine, then we don't have a problem. Right?
Okay, that's right.
I bet you those people wouldn't define their relationship as sexless. They define it in a lot of other ways. So I want to just make that clear that it's when you're having sex less than 10 times a year and you're not happy with that.
Okay.
Or one person isn't happy with that.
What's normal?
Well, I mean, as a therapist, we tend not to use the word normal very much because we're all technically pretty abnormal. But anyway, in terms of averages, stuff hasn't changed since late 1940s when the Kinsey report came out, this big report on sex. And they found that on average, this is taking into account all the ebbs and flows of no sex for 3 months, then lots of sex, and then no sex. On average, which is different than normal, on average, 1 to 2 times a week. Their finding is about the average. I know.
Just checking. Just checking.
So
and
again,
you know, I want to say something. When you leave a Cosmopolitan, magazine hanging around, and your partner says, "Hey, see, 2 to 3 times a week," right? And you're it's ebbs and flows, right?
Absolutely ebbs and flows. And you really define, you and your partner define what's normal for you in the relationship. So you're right. These Cosmo magazines that are saying, well, we have sex twice a day. Really? Don't you? Well, no. You know, most of the people in the world don't.
Right.
So,
Well, we got some viewer email, and it says, "Dear Marilyn, I will be married for 4 years in February, and they have all been sexless. What I don't understand is that we had an incredible physical relationship before signing that paper. And I feel that I've tried everything to fix this. I have screamed and cried and begged and threatened divorce, and we've gone to counseling, and he tells me he will change, but I've heard too many broken promises to believe it anymore." So what do you have to say about that?
Well, first of all, I thank this person for sending it in because what I like about this is an example of a female in the relationship who is wanting to have more sex. Now, this happens all the time. So one thing that the media tries to portray is that it's the female that's always the one who is declining sex. Not the case. And most therapists who are seeing couples would say the same thing. It's both men and women are experiencing these things, a decline or an increase. It happens to both people. So I never want it to be this female issue because it's not. And this was a really good example of that.
That's right. Yeah. So what does this person do?
Well, one thing with, I think they were mentioning that when they first got married, lots of sex, everything was good, and then it kind of fell by the wayside since the wedding or since the marriage. So one thing that I like to talk to people about is the difference between lustful sex and loving sex, okay? So what's portrayed in the media is a lot of lustful sex.
Yes.
You know, we tend to think it must be happening everywhere, every place with everybody because that's what it looks like on TV, right?
That's why we're watching it on TV.
That's why we're watching
That's the only place we're getting it.
Well, what's funny is with romantic comedies, which I, eat them like candy, basically.
So
I love them too. But what's interesting when you look at them is the way the movie ends is usually with the couple getting together finally, right? So they're highlighting that initial phase of sex, which is the lustful novel kind, right?
Right.
And we're not getting a lot of examples of the 20-year-long marriages or relationships where the sex looks very different. It's still really great, but it's different. So falling in love with somebody is one stage of loving.
We're in love with falling in love with somebody.
We are. But you know what?
It makes us feel good.
It makes us feel good. And when we don't have that anymore, it makes us feel badly.
That's right.
So when we no longer have the lustful kind, we think there's something wrong and it makes us feel badly.
Right.
But really, what I ask people is, so you don't have the lustful part anymore because it's not new and novel, and you know what? You'll probably never have that again. That's okay. What do you have instead now?
Right.
You have this relationship that's been through a lot. You have raised children together, and you're the only 2 people on the planet that did that together. That's romantic. Create a new narrative around that love. Bring that into the bedroom and see what happens. Stop mourning the fact that the lustful sex is gone. Who cares?
Yeah,
There's some great stuff along the way later.
That's right. Rewriting the narrative.
Rewriting the narrative.
I like that.
Yeah.
Honey, we're going to rewrite the narrative.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to walk through some tips today.
Okay.
Because it's always very helpful. Okay, so you say, number one, open lines of communication.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the tips. You tell me what you mean by that.
Okay.
Open the lines of communication.
Okay, so a lot of people have heard this, right? You got to talk more. You got to talk about things.
What's that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah,
exactly. So interestingly enough, 75% of the stuff that's not going well in the bedroom has to do with relationship stuff that is not sex related. So all the stuff of life that's messy and real life, finances, children, stress, all that, being mad at each other, all those things are the things that contribute to the no sex, right? 75% of it, that's a lot. So what I like, a great phrase I heard is, anger is like sex Novocaine. It kills it. You don't want it. You don't want, it's numbing. You don't want it when you're angry with somebody, right? Or resentful with somebody, right? Of somebody. So what I say is, have the conversation. Don't just list off. So if I'm having this conversation and saying, I'm angry with you about this, this, and this, list of grievances, people think, okay, we've just talked about it. Why are we still angry? Well, what I say is, anger is one of those secondary emotions where there's tons of emotions underneath the anger, right? It's actually not a primary emotion, anger. So what's often underneath is fear, sadness, insecurity, all that stuff. Exactly. Yeah. So when you get angry at somebody, think about, why am I angry? Okay, it's not just that I'm angry because you go out with your friends all the time. Okay, when I think about why am I angry about that, well, it makes me feel rejected because it makes me feel like you have to go outside of the house to have fun, which makes me feel like I'm no fun, which makes me feel like I'm not important to you. Blah, blah, blah. Keep going.
Think about that next time you're angry.
Break it down, and talk it on that level with your partner.
Okay, in 2 minutes we're going to go through 4 tips, but I love it. That means you have to come back again. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Take sex off the table for a bit.
Yep, if you're stressed out about the fact that you haven't had sex in a long time, the anxiety perpetuates the cycle.
Agreed.
Take it off the table, say we're not going to have sex for 3 weeks.
Right.
We're going to try all kinds of other things instead.
Tip number 3, replace lusting sex for loving sex. You mentioned that. I love that. I love that. Number 4, alleviate boredom.
Yep, boredom. Half of that is expecting that the boredom will come. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, this is the definition of insanity, as Einstein says, right? So you need to create novel. So it's like the hotel sex. You get into the hotel room, and right away you have sex. Why is that? The hotel could be down the street from your house. The reason is new sheets, there's robes, there's a cool bathroom, it's a different environment.
And you don't have to do laundry.
So change it up. Change your bedroom, change your bed sheets, do all that kind of stuff. Make something novel.
Change it up. I like that. Yeah. Alleviate the boredom. And number 5, schedule it.
I know people don't like this.
Plan spontaneity. That's what I call it.
And one last thought with this, because we're running out of time. But one thing is, people, whenever I say plan it, schedule it, which actually really works, especially when you're really busy, is people say, well, that's no fun. I would like to challenge the idea that in order for sex to be fun and romantic, it has to be spontaneous. Why?
Yeah.
If I plan a romantic dinner for my partner and it's Monday and I know it's happening Thursday, I have a great couple days leading up. I'm excited. It's fun. It doesn't make it less romantic.
No.
It's fantastic.
The process is almost more important than the goal, isn't it, in that case? Yeah.
Exactly.
So you plan for it. And that's how it happened when you were dating, too.
You had to make
you had to get all pretty and everything like that.
Yeah.
So there you go. Ashley, good job.
Thanks.
Okay, we really appreciate it.